The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday and another somber Monday.
Yep, another somber Monday. I'm going to show you a really somber picture, though, and it literally can break your heart. This is a picture of the president's casket, draped by a flag, obviously. And the dog that's lying down there is his service dog that he's had for years to help him get around in the wheelchair. And the dog is still sitting guard over his master. And this picture was captioned, "Mission complete." And that's a sad picture. That right there is a sad picture.
Yeah, well, whether you agreed or disagreed with his politics, or number one, he was the President of the United States, and also he was a combat pilot and who served his country, was shot down, and so CIA, he had a record of service to this nation that was not only of political service. He served his country in the military. He served his country with the CIA, and
he believed in public service, and he instilled that in his family, in his children, his grandchildren, that public service was the most important thing. He has a school named after him, a School of Government and Public Service in Texas. He also has a school named after him down in Texas at Texas A&M at College Park, or College Station. I can't remember what it is now. But, you know, when you think about it, I mean, this is, again, a sad day. But with this funeral, this president will be attending. So he will be coming up to Washington later on this afternoon. He's going to be flown up on Air Force One. He will lie in state until Wednesday, and then they will have a service for him in the National Cathedral. Then they will bring him back to Texas, where he will lie in state there for 1 day, I believe, or 2 days, at the Episcopal Church. And then they will inter him with his wife and his daughter, Robin, who passed away. Obviously, they predeceased him. So the flags in the country have been ordered to fly at half-staff for 30 days.
Yeah, well, you know, this is an example. It's a very, very clear example, hopefully, to people who personalize every little thing that there's a disagreement with, especially in the political arena now. It's become so divisive and so personal that, you know, this man was, you may have disagreed with his politics, and I'm sure most of the people in this part of the country didn't vote for him. He was, you know, he was a Republican, and he followed it, you know, he was Reagan's vice president, and he was the president right after Reagan. And, you know, you know, there was some things he did that many people didn't agree with politically, but the fact is that this is the whole key to this thing. You know, we continue to say that you can disagree vehemently with people about issues, but stay with the issues. You know, this personalization and divisiveness is just not there. Anybody who doesn't respect this man for, you know, for what he gave to this country, not only politically, but as a fighter pilot, is just, you know, they just don't get it. And this is, you know, this is the whole thing about it. You know, you know, if we can figure out how to disagree and without being disagreeable, and that's the way we move forward. You know, the old thesis of Hegel and his saying that you know you have an opinion, which is the thesis, then you have a conflicting opinion, which is the antithesis, and then then you get a synthesis of the two, which sometimes is a better idea. You know, people, you know, it's ironic, people who think they're political pundits and they think they know how to move everything forward, but they either want to make everything radical, or they want to they have the opinion that you should not disagree with somebody they like, that everybody should march in lockstep. And that's not the way people move forward. You know, you create ideas are created from different opinions. And if you can keep it basically on the issues and not get personal, where the damage you do to people personally make them resistive to actually weighing all the different opinions, we don't move forward. And I think that's one of the problems we have today. And you know, President Bush deserves every honor that he is entitled to, and the respect of every American.
I agree. One of the things about President Bush was he was a letter man. He wrote letters. He wrote letters to everyone. He wrote letters to his grandchildren, his children. He kept writing letters. And he even wrote a letter to his successor in office, Bill Clinton. And through a tumultuous campaign, he still wrote him a letter. And most presidents do write a letter for the new incoming president. But he wrote him a letter, and it was very peaceful. It wasn't like the campaign. It wasn't as bad as, you know, some of the digs went. And even with this president and Jeb Bush, some digs during the campaign were thrown at this president, at President Bush. And it was in the campaign. And that's where people don't understand. You can separate it. Political is political. Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't respect the person.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that politics has become as nasty as it has and doesn't really stay. You can be, as I said, you can debate very vigorously, but it's become very personal. But as you said, you know, he was, you know, this shows because probably there were no two candidates who were so dramatically opposites as Bill Clinton
and George Bush.
President Bush.
Yeah.
I mean, this, you know, there was a war hero. Here was somebody who didn't serve, who got a deferment to go to college, didn't serve in his war. It was a Democrat versus Republican, was a liberal versus fundamentally a conservative.
Right.
Very conservative. They were exact opposites. They were 180 degrees apart. Yet, when it was all over,
there was respect.
You know, there was a mutual respect between the two.
Right.
And you know, that's the, we should learn from that, and both parties should learn from that today. And the people who start getting personal with people who have an opposite view of them politically should learn from this. You know, it's fine to disagree, fine to fight as hard and as aggressively as you can, but keep it on the issue. Don't make it about people's families, about people personally, and about, it's just, this is what destroys the fabric of what our nation was based on. You know, we came here to have that freedom. You know, the people who left Europe to escape religious persecution came here to be able to have a different opinion, to be able to live in a country where everybody could have a different opinion without having the government trying to step on them for having a different opinion. And it seems to be something that's a long way in the rearview mirror today when you look at what's going on every level of politics.
I agree. And just for people to also realize, on the same day, Ken Berry, I don't know if people remember him, he was an actor. His last program that he did was Mama's Family, where he played Vinton Hopper, but he has an extensive career with Disney and other things, and his claim to fame was F Troop. He was Captain Parmenter.
Yep.
So, we're seeing a lot of the old celebrities and a lot of the actors, and now a lot of our presidents they're getting to that age, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
Well,
life goes on.
He lived a long life.
Yes.
He jumped out of an airplane on his 80th, his 85th, and his 90th birthday, and he was planning on his 95th, but his health failed dramatically in the last year and a half or so. But he lived a good life, and he served his country in many capacities. And
I'm wondering if he died of a broken heart, because his love story was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And his wife just died 8 months ago, and maybe he just said, the body said it's time to go, and he went home. And like he said before he died, he said that he wants to go to heaven, and he wants to meet a lot of people that he hasn't seen for years, including his daughter, his wife, his father. I mean, he listed them all. So he had a good outlook on what would happen after he passed away.
Yeah, and as I said, there should be, and now, hopefully we'll see the respect given him by everyone, and maybe some of these political activists that consider themselves activists and think it's okay to get personal and make fun of everybody and their spouses and their children and everybody else will learn a lesson from H.W.
Yep.
From Herbert Walker.
From number 41. Number 41. So rest in peace, Mr. President.
Rest in peace, Mr. President.
Well, the mayor he didn't say he held a press conference. He made an announcement on Facebook about the tax factor and that he saved the taxpayers' money.
Yeah, but you're paying more.
But you're paying more, but he's saving you money.
He's saving you money.
Right.
He's saving you money, but you're going to pay more for your taxes.
Right, and the funny thing was that, New Bedford, as we had said in the previous show, New Bedford found a tax factor of 1.74, and that still resulted in a $202 increase in property taxes at 1.74.
Yeah.
Because, again, what happened last year, which a lot of people didn't realize, was all the properties were reevaluated. So the property values went up. And if your property value goes up, your taxes go up. And they didn't want to tell you that. But they said, oh, yeah, the property values went up during the meeting, and it's going to result in higher taxes for everybody, but it's going to be $132 or whatever it may be.
But that's the scam,
Of
CJ.
course.
You know that. It's like when they jack up the gas price to $3, and everybody complains, and it used to be $2.25. Now they drop it back down to $2.75, and everybody's happy because they're dummies, and they can't figure out that was just to make you take that other increase that they. It's like when you negotiate. You ask for a 10% raise when you'll settle for a 5% raise.
Exactly.
They offer you 1. So this is the scam. They didn't tell you about the tax. They didn't tell you about the assessed values going up. Just like they don't tell you every time they give a TIF that goes into the tax base, and we have to pay it. So they're going to tell you, oh, look at us. We saved you money. And that's what they're going to say. They say, oh, we could have charged you more on property that was higher. But mark my words, they dropped the tax factor, but they got the assessed value up, and that assessed value is never going to go down again.
That's right.
And you'll get another tax increase next year on that higher assessed value.
Exactly.
And maybe a higher tax factor.
That's right. And
so,
Mary's,
Jazel, don't get too much bursitis from patting yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Because everybody's not as stupid as you think.
And the funny thing is, Mary Sahadi turned around and said, the taxes went up because of Prop 2.5. The taxes don't have to go up 2.5%. The city requires them to go up 2.5%. They do it every year, constantly. I mean, again, remember, as we've said before, in the past, there was a time where you would never talk about a tax raise because you wouldn't be elected to office again.
That's right. And remember, our Director of Financial Services, which is, I thought she was Chief Financial Officer, but I guess the new title, that's probably with the pay raise. The tax shift factor to benefit residential due to the 2.5 increases. Like you said, there's no law that says your taxes have to go up.
That's right.
There is a law that says there's a maximum increase unless you override it, like we did with the debt exclusion. But there's, I hate to tell Mary this because, You know, even though they've been doing audits in this city for 30 years and really not audits, they were, reconsiderations and reconciliations and all kinds of other euphemisms for the fact that they can't really do an audit because they don't have the numbers, they can't find the numbers. But there's no law, people. You know, this is the Goebbels propaganda they've been telling you now for the past 10 years, that your taxes have to go up. They have to go up. You have to pay taxes every year. Well, guess what? There was a time back when the knights were running around on their horses and jousting, you know, in a time and long ago and far away, when we had all the people that ran to Somerset and Swansea and Rehoboth and Westport and Dartmouth and Alabama and Washington State and wherever they went, the people who could afford to get out of this town would kick anybody out of office if they raised your taxes every year. As a matter of fact, it was almost a given that there would never be a tax or fee increase in an election year. You remember that, CJ?
Yeah.
It was an absolute. You could guarantee you were not going to get a tax increase or a fee increase in an election year. Now they got all the sheep believing that, hey, it's your job. We just keep getting pay raises and wasting money, and we got to raise your taxes because it's your obligation to get your taxes raised. That's your job, you know, to be an ATM for government waste. That's what they're telling you, and you believe it, and you re-elect them.
Keep your hands out of my pocket.
Well, you get what you deserve.
Here's the worst thing. Okay, Steve Camara, you know, and we don't always see eye to eye with Steve Camara, but he made a motion to set the tax factor at 1.75, which would have given the residential taxpayer a bigger savings.
Yes.
He couldn't even get a second. So that tells you 8 of the city councils don't care about you. Just like when they raise the water rate, they don't care about you. Yeah. And you keep re-electing these nimrods.
Yeah, well, because then all the businessmen who give them campaign contributions will not give them campaign. They're whining enough because they got a bump. And as I said, tough. You know, it's not, you know, if that bankrupts them, they don't deserve to be in business. The reality is that it's part of doing business. Guess what? Your taxes are a write-off. And guess what? They got a 1.75 rate in Newton, and they have 10,000 more businesses than Fall River. Why? Those businesses stay in business because the average income in Newton is 5 to 6 times what it is in Fall River.
That's right.
People have money. They can frequent businesses. That's what stimulates an economy. Not giving these companies, most of whom, by the way, sell their products outside of Fall River. You know, you viewers out there, all of you that got $500 Matouk towels, send us an email. We want to know how many people got $500 towels in their bathroom from Matouk. That's what I want to know. But they'll whine about the tax. He's not going to whine about the tax factor. He's got such low operating costs. They got all these TIFs, and they're going to complain. Oh, the other business are going to complain. Well, guess what? That's part of doing business.
And that's the problem. The city council and the people forget that they have TIFs.
Yeah. Remember one thing. It's our obligation to pay taxes, they tell us.
80% of the budget.
Businesses in a capitalistic society can't have any taxes.
Right. That's right.
There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. That is absolute BS with a giant B and an even bigger S. Well, that's what that is.
The funny thing is,
you know, I'm going to run a business in a capitalistic society, and what does capitalism say? What is the fundamental of capitalism? Laissez-faire.
Yep.
That means let it be. You let businesses survive, live or die on the basis of their ability to do business.
That's right.
Not getting welfare from politicians who are getting campaign contributions from them. That's the problem. You know, they stopped teaching physics for the same reason they stopped teaching anything during the Middle Ages. Because the dumber people are, the easier they are to BS. The reason that they stopped the Middle Ages, we call the Dark Ages, was nobody was allowed to know how to read or write. They burnt you or killed you as a heretic if you had any education, because they're afraid of people who understand, who are educated. What's the first thing Nazi Germany did? They burnt the books. They incarcerated and killed the academics. They don't want people to have a brain. They want you stupid, barefoot, and poor. That's what they want, and they're getting it.
Slow but sure. And remember, people, 80% of the city budget comes from residential taxes. 80%. So if they don't gouge your tax bill and don't gouge your pocket and use you as an ATM, they don't have the money to give their friends $40,000 a year raises.
That's right. And remember, 80% comes from the residential taxes, and 50% of this city is exempt from taxes.
That's right.
Between public and religious properties, you got almost 50% of the property in the city isn't even. So you're taking a burden for them. You're taking a burden for the TIFs. You're taking a burden for the businesses that are supposed to be running in a capitalistic society on their own. Businesses are not supposed to be getting welfare. But again,
corporate welfare makes the world go round.
No welfare for the working man, no.
Nope, nope, not at all.
Well, we got to get to the next little one, huh?
Yep.
About the attorneys, and attorneys on both sides, no strangers to the spotlight. And it talks about the prosecutors who prosecuted Bolger and the Codfather, and and it shows all their wins. And then they talk about Reddington. And you know what I thought was really amazing about this article, CJ? On page. On page, I believe it's 3. Yeah, that quote. It actually starts on the other one, but it talks about 3 and 4. In what may have been one of the oddest press conferences seen in the city, Reddington, before a scrum of media, theatrically waived the results of a polygraph test taken by Flanagan, claimed that they claimed proved he was innocent of Carrere's allegations. And this is against Flanagan. Now, this is the same, this is why I don't like lawyers. You pay them, they'll represent anybody. So don't tell me that lawyers, especially defense attorneys, are holding the banner for freedom and rights. They're prostitutes. That's all they are. Okay? Because this is what the lawyer who's representing Jazel said when he was representing Flanagan. And this is the quote. We are expecting that at this point, Mr. Carrere, that is Jazel Carrere II, for you who don't know what Carrere he was representing, would recognize the damage and bloodletting he has caused the city, unquote. Well, Mr. Reddington, he's now your client, and you are going to wave and be theatrical about him, but what you said was true. He didn't represent the damage that he caused the city when he did that to Flanagan, and he doesn't represent the damage he's doing to this city by staying in office today. But you don't care. As long as you get your retainer, you're going to represent him, and that's your job.
Fee.
Look, I'm not going to pretend that's his job.
That's right.
But it's a very well-paying job.
Oh yeah, for him it is.
The fact is that and he'll represent anybody who pays him. Now here's a guy who he vilified. And he was right with that statement. That caused a lot of damage to the city, but especially his client. He got booted out of office. But how prophetic was that quote? It was like he could see into the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about can he recognize the damage he has caused to the city? Well, the answer to that question, Mr. Reddington, is no. He can't.
He can't. No, and the funny part about it is that we're seeing the same faces over and over again.
Yep. It's it's like you don't even need your scorecard to identify. They don't need numbers. We're gonna know them all by name now.
Exactly.
It's like Cheers. Fall River's like Cheers. Everybody knows their names.
I know. It's amazing. Just so people know, as our local radio station, WHTB, which is the Portuguese radio station, and WSAR will both be going FM radio shortly. WHTB is currently broadcasting not only on 1400, but is also broadcasting on 93.7 FM, which gives it a little better signal, I guess. And WSAR will soon be broadcasting on channel 240 with 250 watts from a transmitter with this, so the Karams are moving their station forward. They're putting them on FM, and they'll broadcast them on AM as well. So they'll be simulcast. Currently in this area, a lot of stations are doing that. 63 WPRO, 630 WPRO is simulcasting. I think it's on 99.7. So you will see this happening more and more, where AM stations are broadcasting on FM stations to attract more listeners.
I'm assuming this was a press release, right?
Yes, it was.
You know what? When I read this over, you know what kind of caught my eye? The last paragraph. Well, actually, it's a sentence. But current owners. Does that mean that they're looking to dump this thing? I the verbiage just gets me. Current owners, Jim and Bob Karam, are committed to quality service. But I'm wondering. It's like it's not. They didn't say owners are committed. They just current owners. So. There has been talk that they tried to get rid of the station at one point in time, but they were obviously just rumors. It's never been confirmed.
Like everything else in the city, it's all run on rumors.
Everything's up for sale.
That's right.
When you're a businessman, except in Fall River, where you demand tax breaks and TIFs and no operating costs, you can run a business with no operating costs. Matter of fact, city council should get a resolution to reinstitute slavery in Fall River. That way we can get all the jobs back from Bangladesh. Give them a TIF, give them slave labor, and they'll all be back.
Hey, you might as well do away with the child labor law too.
That's right. Chain them to the machines
again.
Chain them to the machines.
That's it. And they could get their meals down at the Taunton River. They could get the mussels.
And we could be back down in Washington like we were in the Untold Story of Labor, testifying in front of the Senate on how they could live on $125 a year with a family of 6 or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Hey, how many people went to the children's Christmas parade? I didn't. I watched it from home, but thousands turned out and showed up, and people had a good time. They enjoyed it. They really enjoyed it. They had like 134 units in the parade. People said they wanted more marching bands from outside of Fall River, from other areas. Yeah. And rumor, and again, this is rumor because I didn't see it. But they said that in the parade there was a float for Narcan, and that's quite possible. When you consider the fact that I think maybe Star or somebody or one of those organizations had a float in there. But I thought that was a little tacky for people to even say something like that.
Well, look, I mean, that's, a float for Narcan.
Hey, it's a message about Fall River, isn't it? Now, I'm not saying that happened.
Not that it's surprising in Fall River.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think that's inappropriate in a Christmas holiday parade, especially a children's holiday parade.
Exactly.
Like, Mommy, what's Narcan? Just walk up and down Main Street. You'll see what it is.
You'll figure it out
very shortly.
Hey, tonight at 5 o'clock here on Channel 95, we won't be rebroadcast. There will be a North Pole Live. If your children are home or your grandchildren, have them call in and speak to Santa, or come right down here to the studio and they can take part in North Pole Live. So that's North Pole Live today at 5, and your children can call in, or your grandchildren can call in and speak to Santa, or they can come right down here and take part in some great activities and some children's entertainment and craft fairs. So
I can't come down and ask Santa for a residential TIF?
No, I don't think so.
I guess not, yeah.
Definitely funny. Hey, everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
And remember, the sports book is open today.
That's it. 3 o'clock today, the sports book opens in Tiverton.
Although I'm not too happy, I don't think they're taking boxing and MMA bets, though.
They might be. You never know.
I don't know. We'll have to check.
Gonna have to check on that.
I have one of my operatives out there as we speak, waiting for the book to open.
Have a great day, everyone, and stay angry.